Okay, ADC tier list for current patch 14.6, because I think quite a few things changed. I believe that crit ADCs got a pretty decent buff with the items. So let's have a look at it together and go through the different champs.
Doesn't get better than this.
The changes have been pretty significant, and I think it's good to talk about. And my opinion, once we start talking about, once I see the Swain, then I know that that we're done. I'm not putting Swain. Nobody's playing Swain. Let's go in the order that I put the champs here, and let's start with one of my favorite champions, Aphelios. So Aphelios definitely got better this patch. Definitely, for sure. He's a big user of IE, big user of LDR, loves those two items, and both those items got considerably stronger. I'd definitely say that he's better than last patch, but I still don't feel like he's up there with the big players. I'd say he's in between high B tier and low A tier, and I wouldn't be able to rate him any higher than that. He still feels harder to win on than a lot of other crit champs, and it just feels like you have to go through a lot of hurdles. It just feels like his early game is like, it's strong, but not strong enough to snowball. He's so immobile, he has a lot of damage, but if your team doesn't peel for you, you know, it's tough. It feels as an A tier, very solid champ. Very high damage, very fun to play. I'd say low A tier. Maybe I'll even end up putting him in B tier. I need to kind of map out how the rest of the tier list looks and see how he compares to the other champs in A. Ashe, I think, is another champion that I feel comfortable leaving her in A. I think she's just like fine. She definitely has a higher win rate than Aphelios, but win rate isn't everything. Ladies, win rate is not everything. Ashe has great utility. I think she's also happy with the crit buffs. Not as happy as other champs, but it's just like, yeah, that's nice, you know? So she got a little bit stronger, but didn't get a big power up like the others did. So I think she's just staying in A tier. She's just a kind of a utility bot. You're picking her to CC champs and not really to do a ton of damage, and she's not really ever going to be a hyper carry. And if you're happy with that, then, you know, enjoy it. Senna. So Senna did get nerfed on bot lane. She did get nerfed. She was insane. She was just insanity. This was my #1 elo pick, the one I recommended to everybody. Just disgusting. 56%, bro. What the fuck? And it's still really high. It's still 53%. And from what I've understood is that this change that they did is a temporary measure as they fix the bug that makes it so that when a support last hits a minion with relic shield, that you get as if you didn't see as the minion, and you get the full chance of getting a soul. And I think they're going light. They're going very light on Senna. I do think, though, that this nerf is a considerable nerf, ADC Senna in solo queue. If you can still play it fasting with a duo, this champ Z tier, for sure. Still fucking OP as shit. If you're queuing up solo, you might get a Lulu, you might get a Sona, you might get a Yuumi, you might not have a good time. I'd say she's A tier with the boys here. She can still get a decent amount of souls, not from minions, but just from fighting. I think people underestimate how much fucking souls you get from fighting, but the Senna passive, you proc that shit perma, bro. You proc that shit perma. It's crazy how often you can proc it. Like, early game, it has a cooldown of like 8 seconds. Target immunity, 6 seconds. So you proc this all the fucking time. Still definitely a solid champ. Then we have Draven. Bro, am I going to put every champ into A tier? I might. I just might. I don't think he's a little bit weaker. I think he's about the same. The thing is that Dirk got nerfed, and I don't know if I want to buy Dirk. The problem is two things, okay? Hear me out. Dirk got nerfed, okay? Kind of a bad item now. Not kind of a bad item. It's just not an OP item anymore, and it used to be really nice on Draven. It was just like such a good go-to rush. And then it's like, okay, now we're playing Draven, and we're going Essence Reaver, right? We're going Essence Reaver into Infinity Edge. That's what most people, I think, are going on Draven this patch. At least that's what I've been going. And that's what I've seen a lot of people going. And it also has like a pretty good win rate. But the problem is, you know what also got nerfed other than Dirk? Warhammer, bro. You know how much AD Warhammer is? 20 AD. 20 AD for 1,100 gold. So that feels like ass to buy on Draven. You're buying Sheen, 0 AD. You're buying Warhammer, 20 AD. You're buying Crit Cloak. Where's my damage? Where's my damage? And then I upgrade the item, and I go from having 20 AD to 60. How does that make sense, by the way? So that's why I think if we look at the Draven win rate, it's actually dropped a little bit from last patch to this patch. And I think it's because a lot of the components that were letting you snowball easily before got nerfed. That's my theory. Then we got Caitlyn. I haven't played a single game of Caitlyn. A lot of people have asked me to play Caitlyn. Then it's like, you gotta play Caitlyn, you know? Like, the thing is, to play Caitlyn and win on Caitlyn, you gotta do a lot of things that other people, like other champs, don't have to do. You gotta get plates. You gotta play really good tempo. You gotta play really good spacing. You gotta, like, jail them under tower and just feast. That's how you win games on K. Win games on Zeri, it's more like, oh yeah, I'm 10 CS a minute. I got my items. It's time to glide. One last glide. So for me, I think the Caitlyn is very support reliant. So it's hard to put her in a specific tier. Because Caitlyn, if you have Lux, if you have Karma, goddamn, that girl can carry. That girl can stomp you in lane. If you got like a Leona, it's like, wouldn't you rather have any other crit ADC? I don't know. Like, she's just like pretty niche. People aren't really playing that much Karma and Lux. Like, people are playing a lot of Karma mid lane, but not really that much Karma bot lane, at least in my games. I don't know how it is in low elo. Maybe Karma's being played low elo. I would say she's B tier. I'd say she's B tier. She's a strong situational pick, and I think that is perfect for B tier. While these A tier champs, I'd say they're less situational than Caitlyn. Then we have Zeri, who I feel very comfortable. I think she's D tier. Zeri is my current #1 go-to elo pick. I think it was OP last patch, and I think it's even stronger this patch. I believe that Infinity Edge is most of the time the better option, because the Infinity Edge buff was quite a bit bigger than the Navori buff. Overall, she has some crazy stats, very high pick rate, good win rate. With Infinity Edge, she has a higher win rate than Navori. Third item, slightly higher. Even though when you go into practice tool, the damage difference isn't as high as you'd like, as I'd like to see. But overall, if you need CDR, buy Navori. If you want more damage, buy IE. Pretty simple, right? Not rocket science, I believe. So the build that I go on Zeri is like static into Hurricane if they have lots of melees, PD if not, and then I go IE if I want more damage, Navori if I want CDR. I think she's the strongest ADC on the patch. For me, she's the easiest champion to win on. She can be played with any support into pretty much any ADC in any team comp. She just doesn't really have any games that, in my opinion, are unplayable. Like, even if they're really long range and squishy, you have an E that can cover half, like a huge fucking wall, and you can one-shot people. So you have good DPS, you have good burst, you have good mobility. What more do you need? So we have Ezreal. I think Ezreal, high A tier. Decent into, I think, some of the champions that are starting to get blind picked. I do like Zeri a lot into Ezreal though, but I think Ezreal is really good into champs like Jinx, into champs like Draven, into champs like Aphelios. Into Draven not so much, but especially into these immobile hyper carries like Aphelios, Jinx, because they just don't have a way of reaching Ezreal, and he can get push against them and then just kind of like keep them at range. And you know, an immobile hypercarry that can't auto attack is an immobile hypercarry that can't do shit. I'd say he's A tier. Didn't really change. Still a fine solo queue champ. Kind of similar to Zeri, that he works with most supports and works into most ADCs and works in most team comps. I think just the versatility is what gives him A tier. He's kind of a jack of all trades. I wouldn't really say he's like better at any specific thing than any other champ. It's just that he covers all the bases better than most champs does. And then we have Jinx. I think Jinx falls into S tier for me. Just looking at the win rates, looking at how the games are playing out, and looking at the champs that are being played, I feel like Jinx, like, why am I putting Jinx in a lower tier than Zeri when she has a higher win rate and a higher pick rate? Because Zeri is more versatile than Jinx is, but in the games that Jinx is good, it's much easier to win on Jinx. And I think the easiness is what makes Jinx win rate higher, not the strength. If you are a low elo player watching and you are not very familiar with Zeri, go play Jinx. Go play Jinx. For sure, go play Jinx, bro. Jinx is 10 times easier than Zeri. 10 times. 10 times, for sure. But if you played a lot of Zeri, and you're very comfortable on her, I think it's easier to carry and win games on Zeri, because in some games, it'll be a really fucking hard Jinx game. If you have a bad support matchup and they have something that outranges you, it is so hard to play Jinx. It is so hard. It's so much easier to play Zeri. So much. And into Assassins, it's so much easier to play Zeri into Assassins. You can buy tanky on Zeri. You have E to outplay the Assassins. You have so much more outplay potential. And you have more fighting ability at 6. Both are really solid options. Both are really strong. And both are insanely happy with crit changes. I think on Jinx, the go-to build that I've seen a lot of people start to run that has a really high win rate is just Static Shiv into Kraken into Infinity Edge, and you're just kind of skipping a Zeal item, going double Noonquaver. I thought it sounded troll, but you know, the win rate's no lie. Both items seem to be pretty strong and have decent synergy. Just looks crazy. Okay, Jhin. B tier or A tier for Jhin? That's a good question. He did, you could argue that he got buffed with the IE changes, right? The IE and LDR. He does like those items. Although I feel like he's kind of been more tuned to lethality for a little bit now. And it's hard for me to find angles where I feel like Jhin is the best pick right now. I think he falls along with Caitlyn. I think he's just kind of whatever. He's good with range supports. He's good with mages. I think he's good with poke mages. But I think hyper carries are the vibe right now. If you want to climb in solo queue, play hyper carries. You know, I don't think Jhin utility champs are the way to go right now. And then we got Xayah coming up. I think Xayah falls along somewhere in the middle of A tier. I think Xayah isn't as strong as she was. I mean, I'd say high A tier. I feel like Xayah's high A tier. She doesn't really feel like S or Z tier champ for me right now, just because she doesn't interact with the crit system. She doesn't get to use any of these new juicy buffs. Yeah, you can go Navori, but then it's like, are we picking Xayah to go Navori, or are we picking Xayah to go fucking strong AP build? I feel like we're picking Xayah to go AP. That's at least why I usually pick Xayah. If I gotta go crit Xayah, there's a lot of other champions. I think I'd rather play Zeri. I'd rather play Zeri 10 out of 10 times. I'd rather play Zeri than crit Xayah. Just kind of similar champs that want to all in and run you down. Just so much easier to do it on Zeri. So yeah, for me, Xayah's A tier. And now, before I would play a lot more Xayah, and now I'm kind of shifted to playing a lot more Zeri, Jinx. Zeri and Jinx. Then we got Kalista. I think Kalista's B tier. Usually kind of a free win when I play against in a solo queue. Kind of a worse version of Draven, I feel like. I'd say the nerfs. You can definitely feel the nerfs when I've played her. She's still good if you have stronger support and you're playing well and you can snowball. In a lot of cases, you're gonna have, you know, some fucking random e-girl support, just like, I don't know, Janna blind pick or some shit. And, you know, if you're playing Kalista with Janna blind pick, yo, best of luck to you, brother. I'm not doing that. Kalista most of the time is just a hard champion to pull off. But if the stars align, I'd say all these champions in B tier, if they have the right conditions, they can be really fucking strong. They require, I think, a bit more conditions than the champions in A tier do. I think Lucian falls perfectly alongside these champs in B tier. I think he requires kind of a Nami or Millie or a Braum. If he has any of those three, can be really strong. If he has like a Janna, kind of useless. Been testing the Eclipse build on him. Feels pretty good. I mean, he can use both IE and Navori. Probably still you're most of the time going to go Navori unless you have like a Nami, which IE can be good. And then we got MF. To be honest, I have not touched MF for a while now. And I also haven't seen anybody playing her. I know she's a prevalent pick in low elo. I do think I'd fit her in probably very similar to Jhin. For me, these champions are quite similar, just that MF has more lane pressure. I don't think she's really interacting much with crit. I think she's still probably going lethality in most of her games. I mean, the thing is, like, if you go crit, like, what the fuck do you go first item, you know? Do you go collector first item? Do you go Kraken? Kraken first item sounds kind of wonky, you know? So, for me, I think falls into B tier. Just, like, fine, you know? If she has a good... If she has, like, an Amumu, bro, Amumu MF, that shit's OP. Amumu presses ult, MF presses ult, you kill them all. Most of the time, you're not going to have an Amumu. You're not going to have someone to crazy set up your ult. MFRL is pretty good, too. So if you have a chance to set up your ult, I think she can be fine, but most of the time she's just like whatever. We got Nilah, also a really situational champ. I think she can, I mean, she's gonna go Navori, I think, most of the time, so she's a little bit happy with this patch. She's also definitely an LBR user and abuser. So I'd say top of B tier, feels pretty solid for Nilah. It's just like, why would I pick Nilah over a lot of these other champions? Mostly just due to support, and it's more situational. I just think she fits well into B tier. Can still be strong if the stars align and, you know, she has like a Rakan or a good enchanter support that she can help give XP to. Like Senna and Nilah can be really good. But it's just that a lot of cases, unless you're a one trick, you won't really feel the need to play Nilah. And then we got Samira. I think she's not so happy with the Dirk nerfs. The only thing is, you could argue, is that she does buy IE, right? She does buy IE, and that's pretty nice. That's pretty nice that IE is buffed. She does buy, like, I mean, some people go static, I guess. But if you're going static first on Samira, should we be playing Samira? You know what I'm saying? Like, surely there's a different champ we should play if we're going fucking static Shiv Samira. I don't know. I think C, no? I mean, it's either C or low B tier. I just think right now she's doesn't really got that juice. Let's do low B tier. I'm not gonna do her like that and put her in C tier. I just don't think she's got any crazy angles right now. Like, usually when I thought Samira was strong, I would like pick her quite often if I had a good engage support like Rel or Nautilus and I saw a really squishy enemy team. But now it's like, why would I pick Samira over Xayah, who just kind of does the same thing, or Kalista or Zeri, you know? I just feel like there's other champions that kind of fill the same niche of one-shotting squishies and being able to snowball. without having to play a champion that needs to go melee range and get resets. And she also just doesn't have, like, she doesn't have survivability. She needs to snowball, but she doesn't have that good of an early game. It's tough, you know, it's tough. Not the biggest fan. Then we got Seraphine. I don't play on North America, so I've not seen this champion at all. From my understanding, their goal was to make this champion a lot weaker on bottom lane. And from the win rate, it does look like that's what they've done. If you are an ADC main and you are playing Zeri or Jinx or Xayah and they have Seraphine and you don't want me in that game, brother, they got a wave clear bot. Tell me you had 10 CS a minute. Please, I'm begging you. 11 CS a minute, 12 CS a minute. Perfect farming. And that you didn't fucking die. Did you die to the Seraphine? No way, no. How's it possible? You didn't carry this game? So I'm going to put her into C tier. If I see Seraphine on enemy team, I know I'll carry. As long as I have a decent hyper carry, I know I'll carry. I think that champ is pretty useless. Then we got Smolder. Maybe another C tier champ. This might be the lowest win rate ADC on the patch. Well, Cho'Gath. Hold your hands here, fellas. Cho'Gath is actually lower win rate than Smolder on bot lane. So, yeah, I think Smolder's pretty down in the dumps. I think he fits right into C tier alongside Seraphine. So why is Smolder bad now? Well, they kind of killed him with the nerfs, I think. Their goal was to make it so that before, when you hit 225 stacks, the execute was kind of crazy. Kind of you got the 225 stacks and you have a high chance of winning the game. You get to 225 stacks and you still don't have a very high chance of winning the game. You're just kind of fine. You're not overpowered, you're just fine. The problem is that before you have 225 stacks, you're not fine. You're fucking useless. So you're useless for 20 to 25 minutes until you get to 225 stacks where you're now fine. Not a good trade-off. That's not a good trade-off. We could be playing Jinx and we would be fine the whole game into strong as fuck. Why would we not want that? Why would we want to be weak into fine when we could be fine into strong? Doesn't make no sense. So Smolder, C tier. Kog'Maw, C tier. I mean, C tier and C tier, it sounds fucking same, to be honest. You could say Smolder's D tier, but we'll leave it in C for now. I think Kog'Maw is actually stronger than I expected. And I'm not going to cope and say it was because of the buffs, because those buffs were not big. The Q buff is nice. But it does not fundamentally change Kog'Maw. There is another thing to consider, and that's that if you're following this tier list, let's say you are a normal person and you're following this tier list, and you blind pick Zeri, well, Kog'Maw is pretty good into Zeri. I'd say it's a winning matchup for Kog'Maw. Or you blind pick Jinx. Oh, well, okay. Kog'Maw is pretty decent into Jinx. Okay, or you blind pick Xayah. Okay, Kog'Maw's pretty good into Xayah. And then we get down to Ezreal, and it's like, okay, Ezreal's pretty good into Kog'Maw. You can, like, you know, just poke him from range, and especially if Ezreal has, like, a Karma or something, it should be hard for the Kog'Maw to play. And then we got, like, Draven, and it's like, okay, Kog'Maw can't really play that much into Draven, you know? If we're sticking to the main champs, Kog'Maw is pretty good into all of these. So if mostly people are playing Zeri or Jinx, which, judging by pick rate, I think a lot of people are, Zeri, Jinx, Xayah, Ezreal. These are the most played champions. I think Kog'Maw is pretty good into all of them. I think I feel relatively comfortable putting Kog'Maw around S or high A tier. I don't know if I'd put him in the same tier as Jinx. I feel like he's more situational than Jinx. I feel like Jinx can play with a more wide array of supports than Kog'Maw can. I feel like Jinx, kind of no matter what support you have, you're pretty happy. But with Kog'Maw, if you have like a Nautilus or a Leona, are you that happy? I'm not so sure. So I'm not sure. I think maybe I'm inclined to put Kog'Maw towards top of A tier rather than putting him in S tier just due to that extra versatility that Jinx has over him. Then we got Sivir. I harped a lot on Sivir. She's not that bad. To be honest, she's not that bad. She's in B tier. She's just fine. She's fine into Zeri. She can push Zeri in and get prio and clear waves fast. Would you rather have a Zeri or a Sivir late game? It's kind of skilled, honestly. If they stack up as 5-man, the Sivir W can do crazy shit. So I'd feel comfortable putting her pretty high B tier alongside Nilah, I think. I just think she's kind of fine into a lot of the champs that people are playing. Is she an Exodia crazy 1v9 machine? No, definitely not. Is she a good wave clearing option that can play 1v2 and can scale pretty well? Yeah, she is. So if you got a support that's just going to leave your lane, well, it's pretty hard to dive Sivir. Just one-shots the waves. Then we got Vayne. Vayne is pretty whatever right now, I think. Vayne is pretty whatever right now. The nerf she got was mostly, I think, aimed at top lane Vayne. She's still, I think, higher win rate than top lane than bot lane, yeah. Just by a slight margin. She doesn't really care about the crit buffs, and crit buffs are all the hype. right now. Why would I pick Vayne right now? Probably I have no reason to, unless I'm a one trick. Just doesn't have crazy items to abuse. Like last season, she had crazy Trinity Force. Earlier on this season, she had crazy Stormracer. Stormracer's gotten nerfed like 3 times now. Most people are buying Shiv on Vayne. It's like, yeah, but then I could be playing Zeri or Jinx or even Kog'Maw if I wanted to build on hit. It's just not that crazy, I think. She's just doesn't really have a spot where she's really overpowered. Then we got Varus. And I actually think Varus is kind of mid. But he's mid, he's still good. You know, he's still obviously good. He can fuck you so hard in lane. I think he can be the most obnoxious champion to lane against. But his win rate sucks. And that's because it's hard to translate the lane win into a game win. Because you need to play really well. You don't have insane DPS. And you can't just mash your keyboard to get kills. You need to use your spells well. You need to kite really well and also position really well because you're in a mobile carry. So you get easy one-shot. And you also don't buy crit. So you didn't get any value out of crit items. However, and I think like now, for example, before when I played Zeri into Varus, I'd be pissing my pants a little bit. Now, when I play Zeri into Varus, I'm like, you have fun buying your lethality beast. I'll see you with my infinity edges. Have fun. I'll get my static shiv and you can't push into me no more. So I one-shot those waves. But if I'm playing Jinx, then it's a bit of a different story. Because then I can't just E away whenever shit gets scary. I gotta fight him. That can be difficult. I'd say low A tier. He's, I don't know, like playing against him is fucking annoying. Even when he snowballs against me, I can't remember a single game I've lost to Varus. You know what I mean? I can remember a lot of lanes that I've lost to Varus. But a lot of games? Not really. That champion just doesn't win. So A tier. Hwei, definitely the best mage for bot lane and solo queue. Putting him in A tier as well. If you guys haven't tried, try to play Aphelios or Draven or any other immobile carry into Hwei bot and enjoy not farming. Yeah, enjoy not touching the wave. Because every time you want to touch the wave, he uses his QE Rumble ult into his EE Grueling Maw or whatever the fuck it's called and pushes you together and you lost half your HP. You got one caster. What a trade. So yeah, fucking OP. Best laning phase of any mage in the game right now. Then Xayah, is she A tier or is she B tier? I think high B tier. She's very, like, still quite situational, but happier with the crit items, happier with the champions being played. There's overall less poke in the game, which is also like why Kog'Maw is better. And overall people are playing like more dive heavy comps and also more dive heavy ADCs and more just crit ADCs that Xayah is decent into. I'd say you could argue she's low A tier or high B tier. Doesn't really make a difference, right? It's pretty happy with the Navori buff. Don't buy Infinity Edge on her. It's still Navori. It's still Navori. I think it's still cracking in most games. Maybe you go static in some, but static on side. It's just like, oh, shit, that's low damage. You know, that's low damage combination right there. Then we got Ziggs. Ziggs, low B tier. Low B tier. Just like fine. Just like fine. I'd rather play Hwei every time of the week. You just get way more laning pressure with Hwei. A little bit more range on Ziggs, I guess, but not really a trade-off that I'm considering is worth. We got Twitch. I think Twitch is kind of useless. I think Twitch is, to be honest, OP ability power, but I feel like nobody plays some AP apart from RadRL. I guess win rate-wise, actually, Bork is doing pretty better. Overall, he's kind of an on-hit ADC that still builds crit, so I would presume that he's a little bit better than last patch. But no, he's actually went down in win rate. That's peculiar. Wow. Where do we put him? Where do we put the rat? In solo queue, he's always going to be A tier, isn't he? He's always going to be A tier. Why is Twitch always going to be A tier in solo queue? Because the sad fact is, when you crash a wave on bot lane, let's say you crash 2 waves on bot lane. No, actually, no. Never mind. I take that back. Enemy bot lane has a Twitch. They push in a wave and they crash a wave towards you. Enemy Twitch recalls. Do you know what's going to happen? Enemy Twitch just recalled. You're chilling on bot lane. You're catching this wave that they just crashed. And you're just farming. Mind your own business. Your mid laner will now die in 7 seconds because he cannot help himself immediately fighting the enemy mid laner as soon as Twitch reaches mid lane. Just immediately as Twitch is stealthed onto his location, he will flash in, engage and use all his cooldowns, and then he will tilt out of his mind because what? Twitch can be mid lane? Fucking cap. That's GG. That's GG. Not only did Twitch just get fucking 300 gold, he killed your mid laner in real life too. He won't play no more. Your mid laner won't play. You check his inventory and there's some Moby Boots in there. So that's why Twitch is fucking A tier. Always in solo queue. A champion could be a cannon minion in lane. And still, he has a stealth, so he gets kills. It's the Evelyn effect. There's no other way around it. Not TF. Low B tier. Just kind of whatever. Just really weak laning phase, I think. Like, if you lose lane to TF, I just think you're trolling. He had a mega win rate. Got mega nerfed. Win rate slightly climbing up. 54%, crazy win rate. Got mega nerfed. 52, it's like fine. You are static, you try to clear waves. You can be a stun bot with your rapid fire second. Enjoy playing TF, beast. Enjoy playing TF. Tristana, bro, we're making this B tier way too long. We're making this B tier way too long. But she falls into B tier. Better on mid lane. Has good all-in threat. Fine into some of the ADCs here. I'll actually put her a little bit higher in B tier. A little bit higher. Karthus, I think pretty mid. Pretty mid. Falls along Ziggs. Falls along Ziggs. If you're a Karthus one trick, you can get things done. Yasuo, fuck that champ's OP, man. I blind picked Jinx a few days ago. I blind picked Jinx and they went Yasuo. What can I do, man? I'm shooting fucking pebbles. I can't do shit to him. It's crazy. My auto text was doing 30 damage. And he did auto Q, auto. Before I did 2 autos. It was insanity. And he fucking abuses Infinity Edge. Crazy champ. Sure strong. For sure. And so good into so many of the champions here. You know what the best ADC though? Into Yasuo? Xayah. I think Yasuo bot lane into Xayah? Yasuo can't play, bro. Yasuo cannot play. He just cannot play. He cannot play. Aphelios can be fine too. If you have good support to protect you. Senna TK is really OP too. Situationally, OP as fuck. And then we put Smolder down in D tier, huh? Just feels right. Nah. But it doesn't feel accurate. It doesn't. Why Xayah is good against Yasuo? Because he has to dash into your feathers. Xayah is really good into melee champs. Let's leave him in C tier. I think I'm pretty happy with this. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? Is there anything you would change? This is my ADC tier list for patch 14.6 with the crit buffs. Wanted to, make a little tier list about my thoughts on the current state of the meta. I think ADC overall as a role is pretty damn strong. Feels pretty good to play right now. If you're still yapping that support needs more ADCs or needs that support needs more ADCs, that ADCs needs more buffs or supports need more nerfs, you're crying for zero right now. Okay, we already got some loving. Okay, let's take it or leave it. Let's be happy for a second. Let's all take a breath and be happy for once, huh?